Okay, so now we're going to continue on with implementing our singly linked list in Java. And what we'll start with is implementing the size method. So if we go back to the list interface website and we find the size method here, we can click on it and we'll get a full description of what it is supposed to do. And it says returns the number of elements in this list. If this list contains more than integer.maxValue elements, returns integer.maxValue. So, first part sounds easy, returns the number of elements in the list. This second part is a bit of a special case. What integer.maxValue is, that's the max integer you can have. Since integers in Java are only 32 bits, there's a max number that you can store in an integer, and so this is saying if the list contains more than that number, then we would just want to return that number, basically. Let's not worry about this second part for now. We'll come back to that later in a later video, but for now let's just worry about returns the number of elements in this list. So, if we go back to our code, we can find the size method that we have the stub for written here. Where is it? Let's find it. Oh, there it is. And right now we just have return 0. That doesn't seem right. What we actually want to return is the size of the list. And since we did make this instance variable called current size that we're going to keep updated with what the current size is at all times, all we really have to do here is return this dot current size. And that should do it for the size method. And now let's go on to the isEmpty method. So again, we can find the isEmpty method. It's right here. IsEmpty returns a boolean, returns true if the list contains no elements. Okay, that makes sense because isEmpty means it has no elements, basically. Now to go about implementing this, what can we do to tell if the list is empty? Well, there are a couple of things that are unique about the list when it is empty. For example, the size is 0. Also, our head pointer will be pointed at null, and our tail pointer will be pointed at null when it's empty. So there are quite a few ways we could go about implementing isEmpty. We could say this dot head equals null. That would mean it's empty. Or we could say this dot tail equals null. That would mean it's empty. Or we could say this dot size equals 0. That means it's empty. And for this implementation, I'm just going to stick with this dot size equals 0, because that seems to make them, that's the simplest or the most logical way to think about it, is that the size will be 0 when it is empty. So this is saying this dot size equals 0. If size returns 0, then this expression will be true, which means we're going to return true. So that means it is empty. And that does it. That'll do it for isEmpty, and we'll continue on with more methods in the next video.